Hello and welcome. I'm Raziel and part of the Skulls Weeks thing. This is my second game review and tomorrow will be my final one. And today it's Vermintide II by Fat Shark. So this one, it kind of does have a bigger lore implication when it comes to Warhammer the Old World because it takes part in the end times, and those who remember, that unforgettable storyline, and that's not a positive, it's unforgettable because we kind of wish we could forget it. Skaven and Chaos have all allied up together and are deciding to destroy the world that they live on. Always seems a bit weird, that one. We're going to destroy the world where we live because that makes sense. Anyway, so that's what it is. It's just this first person horde. I won't say shooter, but you're stabbing a lot, so first person stabber. Well, that'll work. In much of in the vein of Left 4 Dead. And like Left 4 Dead, it's finished on the second one because those sort of games don't like the number 3. This further is compounded by the fact that Back 4 Dead has a number 4 in it, and we still are skipping a number of 3 in these type of games. Point being, it is a Left 4 Dead game. That's the sort of game it is. So if you're playing this solo, which you can do, by the way, you can play it offline and on your own, I wouldn't recommend it. All my recording here is done by solo, and I'll explain why I wouldn't recommend that in a minute. So basic storyline is you take one of 4 characters. You have a wood elf, a dwarf, a witch hunter, Imperial Knight, 5 characters, and a sorcerer. I think there's a 5th one, but I can't remember. Anyway, so you have a choice of these characters, and they all have their own little funny voice lines, and they banter with each other, and it's kind of cool, and I do enjoy listening to it. I think it's really interesting to put in, this kind of banter between the games, between the characters in these games. Left 4 Dead did it as well, and yeah, it's a kind of cool way, because there isn't really a storyline, and the only way you can really get to know these characters is by what they're saying. Some of them are quite funny, some of them are quite stern, some are very stoic, and some are just psychotic. And that's kind of cool because it's a good way of getting characters and knowing them without actually having lore dumps and cutscenes and everything like that. It's really good, and I really like that. That's the storyline. So basically, they're trying to save the old world from the Skaven and Chaos, and well, we know how it all ends because it's called the End Times. And it does take on after the first one. The first mission, if you want to call it that, is basically you got to escape from the Skaven, and it just really does that. And you just have these missions like you got to go and find stuff and do stuff, and it's like clear an enemy area out of Skaven, or find a map, or the usual fantasy sort of missions you've got to do, and that's what the game is. And it doesn't have to be much more than that because, well, it's just a very basic game, and these are good games to do. Like having to do some sort of in-depth discussion about the story about some games when it doesn't really need it, doesn't add anything to the game. The gameplay is what matters, and that's what is actually pretty good. A lot of the gameplay is really good. Your mechanics of the AI of the good guys, so the non-chaos ones, are really interesting and really good. They do work. The AI actually does help you out, and it isn't such a hog that it's just going to take all the ammo, it's going to take all your health kits. It kind of prioritizes you to take them first, so it is good in that way. However, the AI of the Skaven and the Chaos, because now it's got Chaos with Nurgle as well, rather than just Skaven like the last one, it can be incredibly dumb, and not in a good way. Now, if you can find, I would say you tend to like Leonidas half of this, because if you're getting swarmed by a load, you just back into a door, and it just going to keep swarming you, and it just makes it easy work. And if you've got like a grenade or a incendiary bomb or anything like that, it's just going to make it even easier to wipe them all out. And it does make the game a lot easier because you just end up thinking a little bit tactically by going to an area where they can't all get in, and you just wipe them out. And there's other times where you can shoot, and this happens so many times, an enemy from a distance who's right next to another enemy, and the other enemy won't do anything. It doesn't even register you're there. You can do this like with packs of 3 or 4, and they just don't recognize that you're there. You're just picking them off. And it's not even like stealth either. It's not like you're stealthily killing them off. You can use a heavy weapon, like something that fires loud shots, like a handgun, and they still won't be attracted to your position. It's kind of weird. As I said, it's not just Skaven this time, it's Skaven and Chaos, in particular Nurgle, and this adds a lot of variety in the enemy spank and the enemy arena. And again, I've always credit a game where the enemies are completely diverse. You get lots of different enemies, lots of different choice of what you can kill, and I think this is absolutely fantastic. You have your Skaven slaves, your Skaven warriors, your clan rats, your rat ogres, your warp fireflies, your globadiers, your rattling guns. Basically you got that's just a Skaven, and with the Nurgle you get your cultists, let's say zombies. That would be the easiest one. To knights, warriors, spawn. Again, there's a lot of variety in the enemy here, and I think that really does add to the game, because it really makes you feel like you are in this final battle where the enemy's just throwing every single thing at you, and this is for the whole world you're fighting for, and the enemy's not relenting, and they do come in. It's kind of impressive how many are on screen at once. It's really impressive, and I've not seen any slowdown. I haven't seen any FPS frame rate drop. I've seen none of that, and it's fantastic to see this in this game, especially with how good it looks. This is one of the best looking games I've seen in a long, long time. This is absolutely fantastic. And to think that it came out on the PlayStation 4, this isn't a current generation game. This is last generation game. Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 and PCs of that time. And it is so impressive with no drop in frame rate and such a variety of locations and weapons. They've really, Fat Shark have really outdone themselves. The problem is, it's meant to be an online game, and they never have a big shelf life. It's going really cheap at the moment, and on the PlayStation Store, I got it for like £3, but I've previously played it on the Xbox One, and it's well worth playing. If you've got a couple of friends online on the PlayStation, it's cheap to buy. It's just have a blast. You just go forward, you kill everything. It's very gory, very violent, and it is so cathartic and enjoyable to play. And there is so many different ways to play. Like, every character plays different. You're not just a skin for your avatar. I'm doing elf because you are an elf. You have the choice of elven weapons. Dwarves have choice of dwarven weapons, etc. And I think this is, again, really good, and it looks like the old world. You feel like you're in the old world, and the locations are so varied. You have a swamp, you have times in swamp, in mountains, in castles, in crypts, and it's so I think it's so fantastic and enjoyable. Now, I said it's really good. There is a problem with it, and it comes to there is a lot of enemies on the screen at the same time. And don't get me wrong, this is a good thing, especially when you're in things like the catacombs or your crypts. And the reason that's good is because, it feels tight, it feels restrictive, and you really feel like a fight's going on. However, sometimes you go into these big open areas. They look really good and they look nice. However, the enemies don't really do much except you can just pick them all off from a distance. And I think these parts of the game let it down. When it's in like big wide open areas, it lets it down because you're just picking them off. You're not feeling any of that tense action that you would feel in the catacombs or in the castle or anything like that. It doesn't feel the same. It sort of like gets a little bit boring because once you pick them all off, they spawn after a while, but you're going to be walking for a while doing nothing because you've killed them all already. And yeah, that is a bit of a letdown. But when you're on like the cliff edge and they're swarming you, brilliant. Big open fields, not so much. Absolutely, I'll tell you what, it's well worth playing, especially at the price it is at the moment. And yeah, honestly, and it's really worth playing. Yeah, go pick up Vermintide II. It's great fun. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all again soon for tomorrow's video. And yes, thank you. There is, of course, if you wish to save money on your wargaming, you want to support me, you can go down to Wailing Games down below and save up to 20% off your wargaming. We do video games as well, so if you're into gaming, you can probably pick up something there as well. and free delivery after £20. There's also Forbidden Planet for comics, DVDs, mangas, all the really cool stuff. There's also my merchandise. If you really wish to support me personally, that would be great. My comic is about Little Red Riding Hood going absolutely ham on some Lovecraftian cyborg werewolves. There's a small anthology horror comic as well. And there's also my t-shirts, cups and everything else everyone else does. Don't forget Skyforge, good friend of mine. Let's get him up in that Google algorithm. And finally, Patreon business. Bye-bye.